So this is a new plate carrier from RTS Tactical, and it pretty much is the epitome of a minimalist style carrier. What that means is you don't have a lot going on in terms of attachments. There's no MOLLE on the front, there's no Swift clips integration. This is designed to be something that you can store and quickly throw on when you don't need a lot of stuff going on. If you're running a battle belt perhaps, or if this is a throw and go armor carrier and you need it to be low profile. So let's just go over some of the features of the Slick 2.0. I'll talk a little bit about the things I like about it and then a few things that I don't. So the 2.0 does have a really simple design. It's not hard to use. The cummerbund uses hook and loop on both the back and the front, so adjusting the tension in terms of how tight it is front to back is as easy as just moving your pieces on the back close together or moving your pieces on the front closer together. And it does use hook and loop to actually attach to the shoulder straps. It has cordura on the inside of the carrier that sits against your body, which does make it a little bit more comfortable. Now, it's not the thickest material, so if you are running something like steel plates, you may want to have a trauma pad as well. The shoulder straps are easily adjustable. I do have them fully adjusted right now, and you can adjust not only the length of the straps themselves, but also how high on the carrier it sits. It is easy to access the plates. There are two pockets on the bottom that you can open up and easily get to the plates. The cummerbund has built-in magazine pouches. Now, in terms of being low profile, they do hold the magazines close to the body. I will say the magazines here in the back are a little bit hard to access when you've got it on. So trying to reach around to those magazines can be a little bit difficult. It does have pistol mag pouches in the front as well, so you can choose what you're going to put in. It's not going to stand up to running around, like the magazines will fall out. You could potentially get something like a Haley Strategic magazine insert and retain it to the magazine pouch somehow, but that would take a little bit of rigging to make that happen. So let's talk about some of the things I like about it. I do like how low profile it is. If you are throwing, and anyone who's worked with a lot of gear, when you have a full plate carrier setup with mag pouches and tourniquets and IFAKs and radio pouch and everything else you would run in a normal battle setup, it takes up a large footprint in your trunk, in your bag, in your duffel, in your armory, whatever it may be. And sometimes you just want to throw something in your trunk that is going to be easily accessible, that gives you some protection, but you don't need it to have all of that equipment on it. That's where something like a slick plate carrier comes in handy. The other plus side to a slick carrier is if you are trying to go incognito or you are trying to conceal it, it is a lot easier to throw a jacket on over something like this than it is on a standard like a larger battle style plate carrier. I do like how easy it is to adjust the cummerbund. Some plate carriers, the way it's designed, it's woven into MOLLE on the back, and it can take quite a bit of time to adjust the size. This one, you can pretty much rip off the hook and loop and adjust it on the fly. There are downsides to that. If it gets caught on something, you could end up having your whole plate carrier come apart if any of these straps or cummerbunds get caught on anything. But it is relatively snag free in the way it's designed, but as you know, when you're running and gunning, anything can happen. It does have pretty generous shoulder pads, so these are fairly comfortable to wear for extended periods of time. We did have a guy run this in an 8-hour course. Not only did the carrier hold up, but it was relatively comfortable for that time, for the time period that he wore it. It does have some double stitching in the places where it matters, so especially on the load-bearing shoulder strap areas, it has double stitching. Now, some of the things that are not my favorite about this carrier. So the shoulder straps are only adjustable to a certain length. I have them as short as possible, and I have the Velcro attachments as low as possible, and this still sits too low on my back. So the front, I get it to sit about, if you find that divot in your neck where your sternum is, you want it to sit about 1 inch below that. I can get the front plate to sit there, but on my back it still sits like 2 inches low, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you're seeing someone wearing it, it kind of sits in the middle of the back instead of being a little bit higher where it should be. And there's no way to adjust that short of modifying these straps. I can't get it any tighter than it already is. So that's one thing to consider. I'm a pretty average sized dude, so if you're average sized, just be aware that this may sit a little low in the back. One of the other things that I found to be a little bit annoying is that these parts here are squared off instead of rounded, And when you're moving about a lot or taking this carrier on or off, these little edges are a little sharp, to be honest, and they kind of scrape up against your neck. Now, is it, is that a critical failure? No. It's just annoying. The other concern I have, but has so far been invalid, hasn't happened yet, but the material on these is very thin. It's almost like moleskin, I think is what they call it. It's a very thin material, and over time, especially if you're running something with like Line-X lining on it, I worry about the wear that this is going to see. I also worry, like, if you were to get a snag like on a sharp object that would slice this material, I think the integrity of the plate bag would then be lost. Just because you can feel it's kind of an elastic, thin material, and if this were cut, I think it would not hold up to the weight or hard use. So that is something to consider. Now, it is nice in terms of being low profile. It doesn't have, because there's not a lot of bulk to this, the material of the bags themselves don't add a lot of width, which is important when you're looking for something that's low profile. But like I said, we had a guy run this for an 8-hour course with these steel plates in here that have a Line-X coating, so they are rough. He ran it for a whole day, and it looks like it's held up really well to that. The only other thing I would say is the double stitching only occurs on these shoulder straps, which is arguably one of the most important parts, but double stitching is a really good idea on a hard use plate carrier because it just helps to make sure that all the materials are secure and it's not going to unravel or get caught on anything. So that is something that may be an issue in terms of longevity, but again, I won't know that until we've run it for considerably more hours to see how it holds up long term. So final thoughts on this plate carrier. If you're looking for a low profile option for a slick style plate carrier, this isn't a bad choice. The price is competitive with other options, and it does have some features I like about it. I can't give you a good idea on the longevity because I just haven't run it enough, but if you are looking again for a low profile slick style plate carrier, then I would suggest checking out the RTS Tactical Slick 2.0. Remember that training is important. The gear is cool, it's fun to test gear, it's fun to buy gear and run gear, but if you buy something like this and you don't go out and test it and see how it holds up, not only to hard use, but to how it works with your equipment setup, with your gear, you're doing yourself a disservice. Gear is cool, you need to see how it integrates into your system, into your training. Be sure to actually go out and use the gear that you purchase. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you on the roof.